Hello everybody, sorry I'm a little bit late. Apparently this incredibly gray and overcast day is too bright for my skin, so I had to move some stuff in front of a window. I still look super bright. Let's see here. Okay, well I don't want to tag everybody. So, today is our live meetup, I'm very excited. So I'm going to give a few people a few more minutes to show up, but what we're talking about today is most of the stuff in Chapter 2 of Revolutionary Witchcraft. Yay! Hi, Chandra. Get myself all situated here. Just kind of waiting for people to show up. You know, don't want to give away all my good stuff in the beginning before anyone gets here. But yeah, we're talking about Chapter 2 of Revolutionary Witchcraft today. It's called Shaking Off the Dirt. And we're going to talk about some of the words she uses and like some of the ideas that she presents in there. And I've got some tarot cards to show y'all. She mentions tarot cards in this chapter, and I happen to have two of them, and they happen to be super, super appropriate for this topic. So that's cool. If I lean too far back. The overcast. Maybe this is better. Oh, that's somehow worse. Sorry. What are you going to do, right? Can't win them all. Okay, cool. 202. I always feel weird at the beginning here because I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want you guys to see me like picking my teeth or anything ridiculous like that. So how's everyone doing? I can see and respond to comments, by the way. Got my laptop here. Cool, okay. Excellent. We're also going to be talking a little bit about crystals, and I have some links that I'm going to share with you guys, and I'll post those in like a pinned comment when we get a little closer to that part of our little discussion. So today we are talking mainly about these terms she uses in this second chapter, the disenchanted world and initiation, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about crystals and capitalism, which she also mentions in there. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I've got a couple tarot cards to show you that correspond with a lot of the things that she's talking about in this chapter. So that's super fun. And just some questions about how you guys are enjoying the book. I'm also going to be drawing for the people who get their copy of the book and a little journal to go with it. These are full of shit. So I'm going to be drawing two names to win these as well, and then I can ship them out tonight. I'm all set up to ship up right out of my house now, so that's pretty excited. I don't have to wait as long for shit to show up. Okay. So, well, hi, Bonnie. I do apologize for the brightness. It's, I don't know, I guess I have too many windows. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is. I keep, like, trying to block it from all angles, and it doesn't really seem to matter. I think I just glow. Oh. That's closer. It's not even like a beautiful sunny day. It's so overcast. It's like dark outside. But for some reason, it's still just a little too bright for me. For my skin, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to start here. So in Chapter 2 of Revolutionary Witchcraft, she discusses ideas like, cleansing, which sounds very, like we've heard it a million times. Cleansing, initiation. those are words we hear all the time, and she has her own kind of spin and perspective on them and what they mean in terms of practicing a revolutionary type of witchcraft, one that focuses on political and current events that are going on, dealing with those in our lives especially. You know, she does have rituals and stuff in here, but this chapter is mainly shaking off the dirt, shaking off the pain or the trauma of a lot of this political, I don't know, what did she call it in here? But these different types of political discord that affect all of us, you know, different types of oppression. I know she says something like, name your oppression so that you can gain power over it. So different types of oppression that affect all of us, you know, and some have a lot more and some have a lot less, and some have others that other people don't. But we are all oppressed. Isn't that fantastic? We're all oppressed. It made me really sad to think about, but it really is kind of like that sometimes for a lot of people, not everyone. So that really has an effect on us. It has an effect on our day-to-day, you know, our moods. It has an effect on how we approach the world, how we work, how we go to work every day, how we support ourselves, how we get involved with politics, how we spend our money, how we save our money, you know, all of that kind of thing. Political issues and conflicts and injustices, those things kind of stay with you for quite some time. It's a big trust thing, right? These are the people that are supposed to, you know, run things for you, and your trust is broken, and that's very scary. So that's kind of what she's talking about here, is finding a way to not only just, you know, shake that off, because it's not always possible, but finding a way to shake off what you can, to cleanse out what you can, and to deal with the stuff that you can't necessarily change or get rid of. How to take your power back in those situations. So I liked this chapter a lot. I'm liking the book. I hope you guys are too. There's only 2 of you here, but if you guys want to chime in about anything you're reading, if you are reading the book, please feel free. I do have some questions and stuff for you guys later. So. 3 people. Hi. I'm excited. I really like this book, and I'm getting really excited about it. Even though I'm having a hard time paying attention to the news. I haven't been watching the impeachment hearings because I'm just like, I don't know if I want to, or if I just want to like read a play-by-play later. I can't really decide which is worse or better. Hi, Dana. Yeah. I'm so glad. So the reason we go back and forth like this is because we have some people in different time zones. So for some people, getting here at 2 p.m. is like super, super easy. And for other people, getting here at 7 p.m., and these are my times, just makes way more sense. You know, it's not the middle of the night at 2 p.m. for them where they are. So that's why we go back and forth a little bit, just in case you guys were wondering if any of you are new to the group. Yeah, I just try to get everybody to be able to show up live. But the videos do stay up in the group afterwards, so you guys can always go back and watch any of these. I'm trying to catalog them a little bit better so that they're more easily accessible, and I also I upload most of them to YouTube to share onto the Patreon page. So that will be another way that you can find the videos from the past if you should want to. Yeah, working from home. That's the best. I know, people are always like, when are you free? And I'm like, I don't know. I can be free anytime. Just like, tell me what you need. It kills me sometimes, though. Because then I have people who are like, can you wait for the cable guy? Because I know you're free like all day. And I'm like, that's not what I said. There you go. Yeah, working alone. Aw, sorry about that, Shonda. Okay, so you only got 20 minutes. Let's make sure you got some fun stuff to keep in your brain until you come back later. So shaking off the dirt. In this, she doesn't introduce it. I believe she talked about it in the introduction, but she goes into this term that she came up with called a disenchanted world, and it's what she calls kind of the state of the world right now. what she's talking about is just it's a world that's very difficult. It's difficult for all of us to exist in. It's difficult for all of us to get ahead in, to survive in even. Some of it is quite difficult, and some of it is inconvenient, and some of it is oppressive, and some of it is just annoying. But we all have these things, these reasons that living in the world is hard, because being a human is hard. But right now, we really have, it's getting harder, and I don't care what anyone says. I know it's always been hard, but it is getting harder. And I love the perspective from a lot of online activists that it's getting harder now because it's like a bubble about to burst. You know what I mean? So it's building up, and it's going to be better. But first we have to get through this like death rattle. But this death rattle is a very difficult time to live through. And she talks about how you can use witchcraft to explore these things, to take control back in those kinds of situations where you are oppressed, and to understand better what other people are going through. I really like, she says, okay. So what she wants to do with the book and with this term, the disenchanted world, is to give you a framework to see your problems and hopefully get a handle on how they connect and the struggles others are facing. So it's not just realizing what's going on with you. It's not just realizing how you can make your life better, but how you can then, spread that around to the rest of the world. The connection that we all have to each other and to the planet and everything and everybody. Because it's one thing to just, I find a lot of new age, I don't want to say rhetoric because that makes it sound very icky, but a lot of new age writing, works, belief, often it seems to, it's taking responsibility for yourself and your actions and your life, but it goes to a point too far where you're only responsible for your actions and your life, not really like the things that your actions cause or the way other people's actions affect you and your life and your circumstances and your opportunities. It takes all of that away, and that's just not the world that we live in. We exist in this world, and things are going to happen to us, and people are going to do things to us that we have no control over. And that's really scary, but you have to remember that we live in that kind of world. You know what I mean? There has to be a balance between taking responsibility for yourself and remembering that we are all responsible for each other and for the planet as well. And not entirely. Don't give up your paycheck to some random person just because, but what we do affects other people. It's a domino effect out there. Sorry, I know that water bottle's like big and gross looking. It's the best. It's my favorite. So she talks a little bit about how you might feel or how you might tell that you are living in a disenchanted kind of world. And she says things like, she asks questions. Do you feel like nothing matters? Do you feel like no matter what you do, things will stay the same or maybe even get worse? Do you feel alone or like you want to find a meaningful connection to someone, something, anything, but it's too hard for you right now? Do you feel like you are at a place of separation from each other, from the land, from your nature, from your bodies, from even the stuff and people that make all of the stuff that we have? We have this big disconnection. A lot of us don't want to think about where the things that we use every day come from, what countries they come from, what people they come from, what kind of crops they come from, what kind of conditions they come from. And that's everything. And you can't, oh my gosh, you can't know where every single thing in your life directly originated. You can't. You could if you spent your entire life looking into finding out that information. And then it would be kind of moot, right? Sorry, hold on. Sorry. It was hitting a button. It was flashing on my screen. Sorry. I forget what I was saying. Oh, we're very disconnected from that because it makes living easier. And some people take on more responsibility in that respect. You know, vegans, sometimes it's just like an actual dietary choice, but most of the time it's because they don't want to they don't want to have that effect on the planet. They don't want to have animals die so that they can eat. They don't want to be removed from the process of where their food comes from. And you could argue that a lot of meat eaters who hunt or something like that kind of are motivated for the same thing. They really want to see, I thought I got quiet. Yeah, the button my thing was hitting was a volume button. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, that sucks. It's always something. I apologize. I'm just kind of waiting for you guys to catch up here. Okay. So I don't remember where I was, unfortunately. If you guys want to jump in, you can. I think I got on a little bit of a tangent, so that's okay anyways. But what she says about all of this is that the gift that witchcraft gives us is the gift of connection to everything the very thing the disenchanted world wants to take away. So basically, witchcraft is a remedy for this thing. It gives you a reason to think that things around you matter and are important. It gives you, a way to connect to other people, a way to connect to the planet, a way to connect to animals. It remedies that loss of connection that we have in our society. And it connects us more to nature, to the land, and even to our bodies, depending on what it is. Oh, I'm so glad it's better. It's the little thing that holds my phone in place was hitting the volume button. That's embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing. Ooh, my bad. So, I just want to... There we go. I needed a bookmark. Let me just see if I can fix that. That's odd. So it is a little bit lower. I don't know what that is now. Technology man, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't like me. So, hopefully that worked. Oh, good. Better now. I'm so glad that worked because, wow. Wow. Frustrating. Frustrating. Technology is weird. It's so weird. Every time I feel like I got a handle on it, something weird happens and I don't know what's going on. And usually I just push buttons. It's really gotten to that point. I'm just like, hopefully this will work. Rough. I need to take a computer class or something. So mostly what I wanted to know is, depending on what the last thing you guys heard was, I guess, do you feel like disenchanted world is something that really applies to this society, like the conditions that we're living in right now? And do you feel like enchantment and witchcraft really is a remedy for that, or even like a vaccination against it? Which is just something that kept popping into my head. Like, being a witch means I'm vaccinated from being, whatever, a capitalist pig or some shit. And it's not true, but it definitely helps. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I use more of the features that I can in this group to make it a little bit easier for us to communicate. Ooh, yeah. So many people in the past year who are starting to look to witchcraft as a remedy for hopelessness. I love that, because that is, oh, that's such a good way to frame it. You know, it's our human nature. We're always looking for hope that things are going to get better, and like information about our purpose and all of that. And that's part of the human condition. And witchcraft is something that really tries to, I don't know, it tries to give you meaning in your life. It really, really does. Oh, that's a great idea. Meeting and trying to form a support community. That's a great idea. If anyone's in college or university, some of them sometimes will already have clubs that are set up for talking about these kinds of things. And some of the things she lists are, racism, ableism, gender essentialism, imperialism, capitalism, sexism, a whole bunch of isms and obias. Full moon meetings. That's a great idea. That's a really great idea. Sometimes working in a group can be very, very helpful. Even if it's not all the time, if it's just once in a while. Sometimes it's good to have, I don't know, it's good to have support for your magic. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to come from other people, but it can. And it's really nice to feel that connection with those others through that spiritual path. I do miss that sometimes. I used to practice with a group, not every day, obviously, but on a more regular basis. We weren't a traditional coven or anything like that. It was just a group of pagans, and they had Sabbats and full moons and stuff, and I really miss that all the time. I really do. Even though I'm not someone who really is looking for a group like a coven to practice with on the daily, I really do miss having just, other people to do full moon shit with. To be witchy with. Ah, yes, Dana, me too. It was one of those commercials, do you feel like nothing matters? Oh man, I do feel like nothing matters. It's just, I definitely was like, yep, check mark. I definitely feel like this on a pretty regular basis. She also said something right there that really set off light bells in my head, which is that cynicism is viewed as wisdom. And that's so true. The idea, being totally nihilistic and just hating on stuff is super, super popular. And I love hating on cheesy things. I love cheesy things. And I love making fun of, like a cheesy movie. But when you kind of apply that, let's talk about everything that's horrible about this. When you apply that to your actual life, it really gets stuck in your head, and it really, really hurts you over time. Cynicism viewed as wisdom is I was trapped in that a lot when I was depressed. That's what's great about online communities, is that it's better to come together. Actually, the Witch's Voice, Witchbox, that was the online pagan witchy meeting place for years, for 20 years. And they're closing up at the end of this year, and that is wild. I still have friends that I met from Witchbox. There's people in this group that I met through Witchbox. It's intense that is going away. So I'm grateful that there are online communities like ours so that people can find other witches. I'm glad that those exist, even though it means that Witchbox no longer will. Do you guys find that having these online communities or online witches, not just Facebook groups, obviously, but, I find a lot of witches on Instagram, and I find a lot on Twitter, and, we have, Twitter's a place to really have conversations, and Instagram, you really show visual things, you know what I mean? You're really sharing with other people and commenting. And I find that just communicating with like even stranger witches on a one-off or a few-off basis feels really good. It makes me feel a little bit more connected. And that seems so sad now that I say it out loud. You know, I feel such a good connection from, you know, randomly commenting on someone's photo online. But that's kind of where communication has gotten these days. And so I find it really helpful for that kind of community to be there for me. To share photos of things I want to buy. And to just show me new tarot spreads. Just tarot spreads all day long. Yeah, when she first said the Disenchanted World, I thought it sounded a little bit cheesy, but after her explanation, I really came to like that, because I really do feel like witchcraft is a remedy for hopelessness, a remedy for a lack of connection to even just to ourselves. You know what I mean? Witchcraft is very much about getting to know yourself, especially modern witchcraft. I noticed that a lot of witchcraft now is very focused inward, even when it's focused outward. Kind of comes more from inward to outward, I guess you could say. But it's really focused on us and on getting to know yourself and on doing things for yourself before you go out there and do things for others and spread that around. Like I said, there's that personal responsibility vibe. Okay. Do you guys have anything you want to share or talk about? Does witchcraft feel like a remedy to those kind of problems for you? Does it feel like, does witchcraft change the feeling that nothing might matter? Or does it change the lack of control you feel like no matter what you do, things will stay the same or maybe get worse? Does it actually remedy that stuff for you? Does it make you feel more in control or in power or empowered, I guess you could say? Okay, so the next thing that she talks about, we're still in chapter 2, is initiation. And it's any ritual or event that sort of breaks open your brain and makes you realize the world is a lot weirder and bigger than you previously thought. Sometimes it happens out of the blue, and sometimes it's something that is planned. And what she's talking about here is like there's a million different terms for this initiation. An aha moment, or the beginning of stepping into a whole new world, you know. So initiation, sometimes college is an initiation. Bar and bat mitzvahs, those are definitely an initiation ritual that's more planned. But there are things that are unplanned that often just propel us into a whole new world. Oh, that's great. Started practicing as a way to gain control of myself and my life at a time when that seemed really impossible. Over time, I found that my practice started changing my whole outlook on life. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's actually really, that's like successful witchcraft. It's exactly what you want to happen. That's so perfect. That's so great. I love that. I love that over time, the practice started changing your whole outlook on life. Now, is that just your outlook on, like, your attitude about life, or like everything? You know, is it like, is it like when you get to Oz and everything's suddenly in color even though it was in black and white? I love that description. It makes me happy. And that's cool. I like that. That's awesome. Yeah. You know, I definitely feel that at certain points my practice I mean, obviously at a certain point it became a much bigger part of my life. Working at that witchy store was really like an initiation period for me. It really, I don't know, I didn't realize how much I knew. I don't think I realized how much I knew about witchcraft and how much I loved it, and how much sense it made. I don't think I really realized how much had gotten in there until I worked there. And, you know, from that point on, I've been a witch. And it's just, that's awesome. The way you view things, people, and situations, as well as how it, and that's the big one, is how I interact with them. That is such a big one. That is one thing witchcraft definitely, it's a common message in witchcraft, that there's a difference between how you feel and how you feel about something or a situation or someone, and how you interact with someone or a situation. How you deal with it is a very important lesson to learn. One of my oracle decks, the Magic of Flowers, is constantly giving me cards that say things like, oh, what is it now? It's like I've gotten this card 800 times. It's Snapdragon. I think it's something like, stop getting so attached to how people will react when you assert what is true for you, or you assert who you are, or assert yourself. And it's such a startling piece of advice that I constantly need. I really do need to remember that a lot. It's a constant piece of advice. And it's just a message that's always coming to me in witchy and spiritual endeavors. How I interact with things and people. That's cool. That's cool. That's neat. It's really neat to find out, it's really neat how similar a lot of us feel about this. You know, there's no like one governing body of witchcraft, but there is definitely, there's something very unifying, you know, despite the fact that we're all from different places and from different backgrounds. Finding magic and witchcraft really kind of led us to a similar way of life in general. You know what I mean? It's a similar way of looking at the world and interacting with people. A similar belief system, despite the fact that it's all very fractured, and despite the fact that we all practice different types of witchcraft. I'm sure there's overlap, but I'm sure there's overlap, but we all practice something very different, and yet we came together to this same point, and I think that's really, really awesome. I think that's incredible. I think it tells you how universal a lot of this can be. I'm happy to know that you guys know other people that are exploring witchcraft for those reasons, as a way to re-enchant this world that they're in. Oh God, I love that. It's so good. The more I say it, disenchanted world, the more I say it, the more I like it, I think. So what was I saying? Oh, initiation. Right. I just want to make sure if you guys have anything else to add before I keep going. So we're talking about initiation. Now, initiation was a popular topic in Wiccan books, especially mostly because you're initiated into a coven. You're also initiated into, you know, a relationship with the goddess type situation. But not everyone had a group that they could do that with, and not everyone was compelled to do it by themselves. For other people, you know, it might not have been something that was planned. So the initiations that were often like, they were like a Wiccan baptism, really. And there is a Wiccan version of a baptism for a baby called a Wiccaning, I think. But it was kind of like that. Often it involved holy water, and it was just to usher you into this new spiritual state, right, and connect you to divinity or what have you. So that's a planned one. But like a little bit about the witchy store, I feel like despite the fact that I'd been a witch for a long time at that point, theoretically, that really was my initiation into like this phase of witchcraft, you know what I mean? Like as a kid, when I was 9, finding a Silver Raven Wolf book, like that was an initiation period for me for sure. But if I hadn't had that second experience in 2015 there, I wouldn't be doing any of this right now, for sure. So that one was intense. Do you guys have anything like that? If you're a former Wiccan or a current Wiccan who had a formal initiation and you want to share that experience with people, that would be so great, because a lot of people I know never got a chance to do that. We live in it's not a small town, it's a small city, but it's small. That's okay. All the videos go up in the group after and they stay there. So you guys can always find them later. And I'm going to try to make sure to organize them into the units. And then also put it on Patreon and YouTube. So there's ways. There's ways that you can find it. Yep. Feel like I initiated myself? Hell yeah. Started to learn and really did the work all by myself. I've been solitary exclusively until this year. Hell yeah. That is initiating yourself. Absolutely. I like that. You don't wait for someone else to do it for you. I do my own initiation. I respect that. I'm trying to find this shit now. There we go. Oh, that's awesome. Self-dedication when I was a newbie witch, and then another when I entered a working relationship with the goddess Bridget. That is so super cool. Freaking Gemini. Oh, damn. I don't think I can like that comment on my phone. It can be called an initiation for sure, but I think whatever words you're comfortable with, I think dedication is really nice. Because dedication is it's not a one-time thing, right? Dedication is kind of a state of being. You are dedicated to something for quite some time. So I like the word dedication, especially in the context like that. You know, it establishes a commitment. You know, it's not just an event, it's a commitment that you're entering into with the word dedication. So I think that's great. It's a great word. My old book of shadows, I definitely have dedication rituals that I found online that I wrote in there, dedication and initiation, that I always intended to do, and it just never, I didn't want to do it by myself. I just never felt, I don't know, that always seemed like something that would only be necessary if I had other people to work with, or a goddess, you know, or I felt like I had to be initiated into something, not just initiated by myself. I don't know what it was, but it just never felt right. Yeah, exactly. I'm picking up what you're laying down with your dedication. So dedication is also a fantastic word there, especially when it comes to spirituality, because it does imply a commitment later to continue to be dedicated to it. So I love that. Initiation, she says, it can happen out of the blue. Sometimes it's something we do specifically, and sometimes it's something that just happens to us, and there's no looking back now. And it can be kind of scary But it's also very good. So what she says about initiation is that initiation can feel like the Tower card in tarot, big and cataclysmic, like your world is falling apart. And so I actually, I pulled the Tower card from this tarot deck, Next World Tarot, because, you know, it's got a revolutionary vibe. And of course, this card has been renamed Revolution. And it's associated with Scorpio and Mars. And you can see the whole world really is falling apart. And the world is falling apart on purpose. You know, this is why the world is falling apart, not the mob. The mob is trying to bring the world back, essentially. This is what's really destroying the world here. And it seems like everything is falling apart. But they are marching forward, and they are also, like it's you in the foreground, they are there behind you. They are there supporting you. So you have this brightness of revolution, is that there's the promise that in the future things will be better. And then right after the Tower, she says, you have the Star, the sign of newfound hope and optimism. And that's definitely what we have here, replanting after the devastation of the revolution. We have the new hope, new planting, new pollinators, and a shit ton of them because we fixed the planet. Yay! Yes, it did. A lot of earlier Wicca books, it was mostly in the context of like a coven, and oh my god, covens are like the fucking coolest, right? I have a whole book about starting a coven, and I'm just a little bit bummed that I never got to do it. It's like, I don't know, like I always imagined when I went to college I'd live in a dorm, right, and I have an experience, and so I always imagined I'd find myself a coven, but of course I hate people. That's never gonna happen. Come on, come on. If it's a coven full of animals, I'm there. 10 animals plus me. That's a coven. So, sorry. I got a little silly. So I thought that was very interesting that her example from the tarot ended up being very, very, very on point with this particular deck. But it really, it kind of shows us our own, the way initiation works. You know, the Tower card, everything's falling apart. And in the card, you usually see a specific, like a, what is it, like a stone tower usually, and bricks are falling everywhere. So there's this rubble and there's this debris, but that rubble and debris will be reused just like everything else in the world, right? It'll be recycled. So that debris will go into building something new, or, you know, the oil will be used. It will all lead to something better. It's not ever gone forever, but it does need to be dismantled and the resources to be reused. Right? It's not too much to ask for. All I ask for is that when we're out in the woods in the full moon doing rituals, we also bring snacks to roast on the fire. That's all I want. I want ritual, and then I want snacks from the fire. I love snacks cooked over the fire. I'm not big on marshmallows, but I'll eat the shit out of the s'more, man. Hell yeah. Oh, and you know what? Thank you, Laura. It is a beautiful tarot deck, but it is gigantic. I don't know if you guys can tell. So, I don't know if you guys can tell. I have very large hands. Like when I put them up with men my age and my size that are like as tall or usually a little bit taller than me, they're always about the same. So I have very large hands. And this, like, I can't, it's very hard to shuffle because I can't do. It's like, I feel like my hand is being ripped open. It's too big. I end up drawing with a different deck and then using this deck to just sub in cards. It's brutal. Yes, tear down structure. Tear it the fuck down. Yeah, tear down the structure, which is one of my favorite things. I love tearing shit down. It's probably one of the scariest cards in the tarot deck because change and tearing your life apart is scary as hell. It's scary as hell. But it's also very necessary. Very, very necessary. So something she talks about is naming your oppression so you have power over it. And she mentioned kind of feminist lingo, which gave her ways to describe some of the the things that she was going through that she never had a word for before. And once you have that name, you can kind of, you can do research, you can find out information, you can figure out what it is that you think and believe, and you can find out ways to address it or interact with it. And I thought of things like fat phobia. That wasn't a word when I was a kid. It might have been, but it's not one I ever heard, right? And as I got older, when I became older and I started hearing the word fat phobia, I was like, that's it. They really are afraid. There's a motivation of fear behind the hatred of fat people. Strong fear motivation. It's just nuts. I'm a fucking human. It's just not that crazy. As well as toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is something that has bugged me my whole life, and I never, ever, ever had a word for it. It was boys will be boys, or man stuff, or man culture, or like whatever. I was like, I don't like man culture. What is that? And it's toxic masculinity. And despite how many men take that statement, it's grammatically, it specifically takes it away from regular masculinity. There's regular masculinity, and then there's also this offshoot of toxic masculinity that has a toxic effect on regular. Toxic masculinity, just in case. Every time someone has that word, it's like it makes it sound all masculinity is toxic. I'm like, but literally it does not. It's grammatically written to not do that. Like it's on purpose. Anyways. Yes, words are super powerful, especially words that call out oppression, and fuck yes. And that's toxic masculinity is one word that really made me feel like less crazy. It was like, oh my God, it's not just me, and it's not just boys will be boys. Like, it's a fucking societal thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing, and it's got a name, and that means that there's something we can do about it. Hopefully, maybe. Toxic masculinity feels harder to conquer than fucking anything else. It's stupid. But yeah, think about that a little bit. See if there's anything for you where learning its name helped you identify it and empower yourself against it, especially some of these political things. And it can be anything. It can be something that you learn very early on, like how to address racism. When you're younger, or when you don't know what racism is, I guess, you can see it and you can feel that something here is not right, but you don't have the word to actually say, that's racist. You don't have that. You don't understand how to communicate that. And once you do know, I understand now why I feel bad when this is happening. It's because it's racism, and I think racism is bad. You have this, a checklist. You know how you got there. So I tried to pick a super obvious type answer. So just think about that. Think about if there's anything that used to give you the heebie-jeebies, that you used to feel the vibes from that was bad. This is a bad situation. This is a bad conversation. The things they're saying right now they're not right. This isn't right. And see if there's something that you still have no word for. Maybe it's something that we can help each other out with. If there's something like that where you can only describe how it makes you feel and not what it actually is, or even what it is you're seeing that is making you feel that way, maybe we can help each other. But finding a word to address that, it's helpful. It's a very helpful first step. It's an initiation into healing. Okay, so one last thing about this chapter is she has a little section about crystals and capitalism, right? And this is a super important topic. I'm actually I'm emailing a geologist later. A geologist who's also a spiritual practitioner. I want to have her on the show to talk about crystals, both the ethics of buying crystals and how to actually use and connect with crystals. So cool. Sorry, I just want to catch up on that. If I'm feeling uncomfortable, That's a big one. That is a big one. White people, we get defensive when someone insinuates we might be racist. Or just, sometimes it just happens when we're around people who are not white, because racism's very much embedded in us now, generationally embedded in there. It's really, really hard to dig it all out. But yeah, if you are uncomfortable with being called a racist, that you're so uncomfortable that you get defensive and wild about it, or if you feel yourself getting really comfortable talking when oppressed peoples are talking about their oppression and how you might have the privilege of not having to deal with it, that's a time to stop and think, wait a minute, why does my brain go there? I don't think like that. You know, I don't consider myself racist, so why am I thinking a racist thing? Why am I saying a racist thing? If you're not racist, why are you doing that? So consider that a little bit deeper. And she actually talks about cleansing that away, and cleansing more than just wiping it off, because it's not that easy. But especially in situations like that Bonnie just described, cleansing the root of that problem. You know, if you feel that way, figure out where that's coming from. Why do you feel that way? What is it that is triggering this at this moment? How can you fix that part of yourself so that you can fix that part of yourself? You know, if that's not in line with your values, how can you correct that so that your behavior and your words and your beliefs are more in line with your values? It's just a little bit of self-awareness, which is easier said than actually done when it comes to having self-awareness. I just want to make sure I'm not rushing anybody. I like that word, fragility. It's so true. It's such a good word for that feeling. It's so gross too. I'm always really disappointed in myself when something like that comes up. It doesn't happen a lot anymore, but as I was growing up and through my 20s, holy shit, I had to start thinking about that all the time. I said things that I truly just like did not believe, and when I think of it now, like I feel like my face is just gonna catch on fire because it's so embarrassing. It's like, that's not the person that I was, and it wasn't the person I was then, so it's not me now and it's not me then, so who the hell was that, and why did I think that that was who I needed to be? Life is a journey. It's that horribly bizarre learning experience, isn't it? We're running out of time a little bit. Yes. I might have to save crystals for another time. Yeah, well, okay. Oh, I already mentioned it. So like I said, I want to have a podcast episode that really talks about crystals and crystal mining and ethically purchasing and working with crystals. So I was excited to see that she had a little section in this chapter on it. And again, she said something that I thought was really incredible. Buying and selling feelings, especially to women, is marketing 101, because they're selling you not the rock, but the feelings associated with the rock, or how the rock is supposed to make you feel. It's a placebo, right, that they're selling you. And a lot of times we get very much caught up in purchasing all of these rocks to purify our souls. But then the rocks come from, you know, exploited miners and things like that. Oh, that's a good one, Bonnie. That's a good one. Crying easily. That can be a real challenge. A real challenge. How many other of you feel like you are very in touch with your emotions? You maybe cry very easily when you see a situation that's not about you at all. Even in public. That is brutal. That is a hard one. That's a learned skill. It's those of us who cry easily, it's something we need to pick up on. So basically what I wanted to do with the crystals is just kind of start a discussion. I'm going to post something in the group later about how the recent information about crystals and their mining conditions and all of that, how that makes you feel, if that's made you stop buying crystals, or if you think you will stop buying crystals, or you know, ways that you are dealing with that information. If you're ignoring it, it happens. If you didn't know, or if it's something that you're actively trying to do something with, I'm going to be posting something in the group. Hopefully offer up some ideas for those who are familiar with crystals and crystal mining conditions. Maybe you got some ideas for the rest of us who like crystals but want to be more ethical in our usage and purchasing, especially of crystals. So I was excited I saw that in that chapter. I'm loving this book. So we're almost at 3 o'clock. Do you guys have anything that you want to share, or that you want to say, or that you want to ask about the book, or these meetups of the group, or just anything? Do you have any questions at all? A lot of criers up in here. Respect. It's very difficult. It's so difficult to just cry all the time. Commercials are the worst. Any commercials about movies about dogs? I'm out. Fuck those movies. I can't even watch the movie. I'm just trying to keep an eye on comments. Okay, so I am going to get going. I'm going to be posting some stuff in the group. This video will stay up, so please feel free to watch it later. If you are watching it later, please feel free to comment here. I should still get the notifications if you guys want to have a little discussion in here. But I will be posting something in the group, especially about crystals, and I'm going to be doing the drawing later because I ran out of time. So I'll be doing that and posting the results in the group and tagging the people who win. Just in case you're new to the group, what I'm doing there is, you know, we move in these 2-month cycles. And so when we start a new book, a new cycle, I send out 2 copies of the book, 1 for each month, as well as usually a journal or a small gift or something that they can use in conjunction with the book. So this time I have Revolutionary Witchcraft, of course, and these fun journals that take no fucking shit. I thought that was a really good, you know, vibe that works together. I thought that was good. So keep an eye on the group for that later. Everybody who is in the group and, you know, who pays through Patreon, all of your names are in the hat. They're in the digital hat. I'm going to be printing them out and doing it for real, I think, because I'm old school. Just kind of old school. So, yeah, watch for that later. Well, I'm glad you could join us, Laura. I'm glad all of you guys could join me today. This is fun. So next week we've got another live meetup, and we'll be going in order to talk about chapter 3 of Revolutionary Witchcraft, which is Dream Big. And I love our little witch here. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for showing up today, and thanks, Laura. Have a wonderful day. What do we got here? We've got no fun astrological stuff, except Mercury is going direct either tonight or tomorrow. I'll find out exactly when it goes, and I'll post it in the group for you guys. So have a really good night, and enjoy our future direct Mercury, so that hopefully all of our electronics will calm the fuck down. Maybe. Bye, guys.